Still Business Morning, and yes, infrastructure is the focus at this time, and we're doing it with Mr. Bismarck Rewane, Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company. Mr. Rewane, good morning, and good to have you at our NGX studio.
Thank you.
So it does seem like there's a lot of focus on infrastructure, especially road. We just saw that the one that will be connecting Asaba and Edo and all of that. I know you're happy about that, Mr. Rewane.
Yes. No, I'm happy about any development in this country that will help people get happier, healthier, and more productive.
Yeah, more economic activities. And reviewing the HDMI, that's the Highway Development Management Initiative. At this time, we see that about 195,000 kilometers of road networks have been dealt with so far.
No, 195,000 roads, that's the network of roads in Nigeria, of which only 31% is tarred. 69% of the roads in Nigeria are not tarred. And when they are tarred, the drains are not there, so you get potholes. The pothole of today is a trench of tomorrow. So what are we saying? The Highway Management and Development Initiative, right, is to take the government out of the picture, bring the private sector in, to put their own money in, right, and achieve maximum productivity. That's why we call it the HDMI is a game changer for maximum productivity and output.
Yeah, before you go on, Mr. Rewane, please help me. Which is supposed to come first, the drainage or the road? Because if you do the road without the drainage, then eventually you have a bad road.
No, there are different levels. You see, for the drains, which is the sidewalks or whatever, the paved drains are one thing. But every time water goes into a road, it must go through the silt and go down before, and if it gets stuck, it doesn't go down, then it creates, that's the beginning of the pothole, exactly. Right? But from where it goes down, it now drains out to the drains, and then from the drains to the waterways and all of that. So it's a whole process, right? So what we are saying is that, yes, they come together, but you cannot do one without the other. If you go and build roads without proper drains, you're only creating a problem for yourself. Within a year, maximum 18 months, that road will be finished.
All right. So you were telling us about on that HDMI program, for instance, you have only 31% paved road out of this 195,000.
No, that's Nigeria, not the HDMI.
Yes, yes.
Nigeria as a country has 195,000 kilometers of roads, of which only 31% is paved. And when it's paved, half of them are not even a road can be considered to be paved, like when you saw some of the roads yesterday in different parts of the country. Those are not roads. Those have become trenches, right? So, but they are considered as paved because at one point in time, some government signed off and gave a contract to somebody to build it. The guy took the mobilization, took off. The commissioner or the minister took off with the money and all of that. So to bring that to an end, that's why we have the Highway Development and Management Initiative. And guess what? It started as far back as 2021. So we went through that process in 2021. I think the Minister of Works at that time was Minister Fashola, and the President was... So the Federal Executive Council did this and decided to concession so many roads, right? The first road that is taken off under this program was done yesterday, right? Which is 5 years after.
I wonder why the delay, though?
Well, the point is that every time a road is delayed for 1 year, you increase the cost. The cost overruns increase by about 20%. So what is the Highway Development, Management and Development Initiative is not what the government is spending on development of roads, but how the government is getting out of the way so the private sector can put money into it. So what you saw yesterday wasn't government investing, it was government facilitating and getting out of the way so that the private sector can put money into the roads. And you will see the result. It is a phenomenal difference. But what are the gains of this? One, the government probably spends, I don't know how many trillion naira a year doing maintenance of roads. First of all, the maintenance is poor. Secondly, it doesn't even happen. Thirdly, it's a leakage. And every time they're doing maintenance, they block the road, right? And then it creates traffic delays and jams. It's a major disaster. But now, when you now concession the road to somebody and it spends maybe 100 or 200 billion naira and guards it with drone technology, right? With central reservation and high barriers, only 3 or 4 outlets into the, where they get out of the way. It means that, one, you cannot even kidnap, right? You cannot, and the speed at which they're going, quite frankly, is much more efficient than the others. And one way to look at it, while in Nigeria, right, the average speed on a highway that you can achieve averagely all the way is about almost 30 to 40 kilometers an hour. In Ivory Coast, it's about 55 kilometers an hour, and we've gone further to 75 kilometers an hour, and that's Ivory Coast just around the corner. So it means that when a road is well built, well paved, well maintained, with tolls, you enjoy greater efficiency and lower costs.
So what it means now is the private sector will take over, and the factor of maintenance is a conscious element that is added to the agreements with the private sector.
Yeah, absolutely. What happens, the private sector operator is given a concession for 25 years. So he builds the road, he maintains it for 25 years, and he gives a percentage of his toll back to the landlord, which is the federal government of Nigeria, in some cases the states, 1. 2, the federal government and the state governments will have minimum cost in maintenance. So first, your maintenance cost comes down, so you have the money to use for schools, hospitals, and other things. Secondly, you do not have to start maintaining, running after people, policing the roads, right? And thirdly, after 25 years, it reverts to you. So you have a reversionary interest, right? So what does it all mean? 1, maintenance cost of government goes down. 2, the cost of transportation reduces sharply. And this is coinciding with the reduction in the price of petrol, right? And then you are actually beginning to see that, 1, for corporate bodies, right, they would rather pay the 500 naira toll or 2,000 naira for a truck toll and ensure that the goods get from point of production to the market much faster.
But for private individuals, Mr. Rewane, wouldn't this be too expensive, having tolls everywhere?
No. As a matter of fact, the records are there. The evidence is clear that because I can get to my location faster, I would rather pay 500 naira or 1,000 naira, right, to get there and come back and turn around. So if I was driving a Molue or a bus, right, and I can go from Benin to Asaba, right now it takes 3.5 hours to 4 hours, actually, but it's now going to come down to 45 minutes to 1 hour. I would go to Asaba, come back to Benin, and go back again. I would do 4 trips, where I used to do only 2 trips. Therefore, my average cost comes down. I can actually lower my fares. That is what's going to happen. When I combine that with the reduced price of petrol, when I combine that with the fact that the vehicle, which is moving slowly and in one place, and the engine and wear and tear is worse, it means that things are better. So the way to look at it is that, is the government investing money to increase productivity, or in this particular case, the government is getting out of the way so that private capital can come in? And that is where this thing is happening, that we are now, the government is getting out of the way. So you saw it, that the Federal Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy was there to ensure and to push the private sector initiative so that we can get the desired results. The Federal Ministry of Works was there to give us the permission to do things and to get out of the way completely. Because we've seen that the delays so far, this thing started in 2021 to 2023, 2023. 2 years, everything was financial close. Then, in 2023, there was a new government, a new minister. Okay, we want to review and review and review. So now, 2 years into the administration, the president actually had to intervene to ensure that this project took off. If not, 2 years from today, we'll still be here, right? So now we've got that. Now let us now begin to evaluate what are the benefits of this kind of thing.
Before we go there, Mr. Rewane,
yes.
So how is it going to be everywhere is tolled, or are there certain criteria that will be used to say this part the government can handle it so people don't have to toll, or is it everywhere?
No, not everywhere. So we've taken, let's take Benin to Asaba, right? From Benin to, once you enter from Benin, you pay your toll. There were only 3 outlets from there. You come down in Agbo, come down, I think, in Guashuku or somewhere, and then you end up in Asaba. Everybody who's going on that road will pay a toll. But you have alternative roads where if you don't want to pay a toll and you want to go through the forest or some bush path or something, you can do that. What happens to you there is a different story. But here, once you get onto this tollway, right, you are sure, first and foremost, there are no potholes. Secondly, they have removal trucks, the tow trucks. If a vehicle breaks down within 5-10 minutes, the tow trucks take it to an MRO, which is called Maintenance, Repair and Overhaul Facility on the road, which is part of the whole benefits. So you will not have trucks there and people run into accidents. It will be floodlit so that you can see, there'll be no, and with drones and CCTV, if anybody tries to kidnap you, for example, since the reservation on the barriers are about almost 3 to 4 feet high, you have to be on the road, inside the toll road. You have to kidnap the person, throw the person over a 4-foot barrier, and somebody has to be waiting on the other side to take the person into the bush. So 1, technology, kidnapping is low. 2, productivity increases. 3, the cost of transportation, which reflects in the price of goods, right? You will now see the price of those goods begin to come down. So what do we do? Because when you look at inflation, inflation is defined as persistent increase in prices because of 1, low productivity, and 2, increased money supply. So we can take out the money supply things by using the NPR and the central bank. But what the persistent cause of inflation in the country is a reduction in productivity. Why is productivity reduced? Because when goods are produced, they cannot get to the market, right? Then there's post-harvest losses. So you will now begin to see the difference between rural and urban inflation, which is reflecting because of this cost of transportation. 1, because the roads are bad. 2, because the post-harvest losses. And 3, because the price, the price of petrol was high, and now that is reducing. So we have all these 3 factors leading to a reduction in inflation. And when inflation reduces, guess what? Your exchange rate begins to strengthen. Because there's a strong correlation between inflation, right, and exchange rate weakness. The higher your inflation rate, right, the higher the volatility of your currency and the weakness of your currency. So you have to look at it holistically from a macroeconomic perspective. Now, what is this all about? The first thing is that government expenditure drops sharply. The fact that government expenditure drops sharply does not mean that the government will spend it for the people. So the revenue increases, which is good, but we must also block leakages, and that's not the purpose of this conversation.
Exactly, I know.
What we're trying to do here is to see the benefit of government getting out of the way.
Even when you talk about the reduction in the cost of transport,
yeah.
I mean, I wanted to say that we've seen a reduction in the price of petrol. We haven't seen it reflecting in the price of transport, at least intra-Lagos, which is where I know, and yeah. In the market. So I don't know if it's a Nigerian thing or something.
No. Prices are sticky downwards everywhere in the world, but more sticky in places where there are structural bottlenecks. You see, if you look at the last inflation numbers, core inflation increased, right? And month-on-month inflation increased dramatically, which means that there are structural issues that need to be taken care of. When structural inflation is entrenched in a country, it doesn't take long before we can switch from a medium or moderate inflation level to a higher inflation level. But once your productivity begins to increase significantly because of these bottlenecks that have been removed, or what we call debottlenecking the economy, you would see the effect. And this is more structural than transient. And this is good.
Mr. Ryan, another thing is if you talk to those who are involved in the long transport.
Intercity.
Yes, intercity, especially those who bring food from maybe the north to the south and all of that. The issue of agencies or agents on the road. So when we have this tolled road,
yes,
will that be part of it, or they'll still
absolutely
be there doing what they're doing?
No. You cannot collect tolls on a highway that is tolled. You cannot have multiple agencies. In the Lagos, I think Lagos Badagry Road, there are about 35. You know, there's 35.
That corridor is really
bad. So once you've paid your toll, nobody can stop you until you exit. So it takes away all those, because those are not all these agencies that are stopping you on the way for go and bring your TV license, go and bring your radio license, go and bring your birth certificate. Those are not. That's a shakedown, right? It's an extortion racket. So one of the benefits, thank you that you brought it up. One of the benefits of this tolling system is that once I've paid my toll at the beginning, nobody can touch me until I get out.
But that means there has to be a strong coordination within the ministries of government, the different agencies and arms.
They have no access to the road. You see, the road no longer belongs to the government. The government has, you see, if you, let me say, you rent a house from LSDPC, right? The government has collected its rent. They cannot come in and say, come, we want to come and repair the window. No. Until my lease expires, they have no access. The agencies, if they want to collect their money, they can collect it. If it's Ports Authority, collect it at the port. You cannot come to the Asaba-Benin Highway and start to collect money there. It will be a trespass, and you'll be arrested. You are trespassing on private property. In any case, they will have to pay their toll even before they get there if they want to go and collect a toll as well. Okay?
Very interesting. So we see increased productivity, economic activities, and all of that, and also jobs.
No, before I get to jobs, let us look, Benin to Asaba today is about 4 hours. But after the construction is finished within the next 9 to 15 months, it will be 1 hour. Lagos to Abeokuta, which is the critical one, it takes almost 2 to 4 hours now. It's going to be down to 1 hour, 30 minutes. Even though it's a short, it's only 80 kilometers. It's going to be down to almost an hour. Enugu Port Harcourt, very interesting, right? Enugu to Port Harcourt today is about 5 hours. When it's concession and finished, it will be taking 2 hours. If you look at it, Shagamu-Benin Highway today, Shagamu to Benin is at least, on a bad day, it takes you 9 hours. When it's finished, right, it will be about 3 hours. So imagine 9 hours from Benin to Shagamu to Benin. Now it's 3 hours. So I can get to Benin, come back, and go again. And so that vehicle is being utilized all the time. You see, let me give you an example. You see the difference between airline profitability in Europe and airline profitability in Africa, especially Nigeria. After 7 or 8 o'clock at night, all the aircraft are packed. People don't fly within Nigeria at night because they are afraid that when they get to their destination, they'll be robbed and all of that. That aircraft, in other parts of the world, the aircraft is working 24 hours a day. Once they've done the maintenance, it goes off. So the downtime on your asset 4 hours, you are increasing productivity. And that is the key thing. So what we are saying is that Rome wasn't built in a day. You are going to have a situation where productivity will increase. And it is key because if Nigeria wants to achieve a $1 trillion economy in the year 2030, or even before then you have to do some dramatic things, including this kind of thing. And I think that is the most important thing, that let us drum it into the ears of people who are going to say, oh, no, we are not going to pay toll because of, no.
Well, they have alternative.
Yes. No, but so, not only that.
So you choose the alternative at whatever cost it comes to.
It's easy to say that because people are listening to us and say, oh, yes, they said alternative. What happened when they had the electric concession? So, but the people have to ensure that they rise up, and if the concessioner, right, does not maintain the road, and in spite of paying the toll, I still have all these problems, then that concession has to be revoked. So we must hold the private sector concessioner to hold him to his word, hold the government, because basically the government is leasing out a road that belongs to it. The concessioner is saying, I will collect money and I will provide you service. And the people, at the end of the day, are going to be the beneficiaries of this, or should be the beneficiaries of this. If they are not the beneficiaries, then the people should protest and say no.
Yeah, so I guess that would begin with the process put in place to choose who the concessionaires would be.
Yeah, there was a bidding process.
And not a man-no-man thingy.
No, okay, let's take examples. There was a bidding process, The Federal Ministry of Works awards a contract. Right now, man, no man, they come, they award a contract to their brother or their sister or whatever, and they do that. But the fact that there's a bidding process should be technically much more efficient than whatever it is, right? Now, but the reality is that you have a road, right, and you have to provide a service, and the people have voted a government into power, right? And if they're not getting the service for which they vote, then there are many options that you have to ensure that we get service. There was a lot of fanfare yesterday, right? But Africa Infrastructure Plus partners is going to be held responsible. If 6 months from today we have not seen developments and road and all of that, so that people can now see what's happening, they will not be holding the government. And I tell you, from Bagada to the airport, from Bagada to Tinkan Island, when Dangote did the road for tax swap, yesterday I was going to Benin. It took me 21 minutes from Victoria Island to Ikeja. Yeah, early hours of the morning. It was about 6 in the morning. But in the past, you are not guaranteed that kind of free movement. So, yes, the roads were built. That road was built about 4 or 5 years ago. In fact, 4 or 5 years ago. Today, we have no problem with it because what would have happened is that you would have had EFCC arresting somebody who was in the ministry, somebody, the contractor who built the road and all of that. First of all, there will be no road. Secondly, everybody will be arrested. Thirdly, nothing will come out of it. There will be no conviction. So these private sector initiatives that people can see help to drive the process.
So who are the private sector that can, is it companies, is it the money bags?
No.
Professionals?
This particular Benin Asaba is it's Africa Infrastructure Plus. It's a fund owned by the pension funds. So every Nigerian has a stake in it. It's not for. I
wonder if Nigerians know that.
They know.
They know that their fund is being used for this investment.
They should know, right? They ought to know, and if they don't, they will know. Because I can tell you.
They know.
No, yeah, now they know.
We're talking about it.
Yes, I was like, what? Now you know, right? That's what Flavor said, right? So now you know, right? But the reality is that I'm on the board. And let me disclose this.
So that means we can hold you.
Yeah, you can hold me responsible.
So viewers, if this HDMI doesn't work well, we don't see these roads, especially when we're being told we can hold
me responsible. I'm not the government of Nigeria. Hold me and the Africa Infrastructure Plus responsible for not doing the road, for not maintaining it, or for extorting you. We will take responsibility. So also give us the credit when you enjoy the benefit. So anybody can cut a ribbon. But the point is that work had to be done. And we've taken personal and group responsibility. But if the pension funds, which all of us contribute to, including myself, are investing money on this infrastructure for the benefit of the people, for the people, and by the people, then that's what is democracy. This is democratic capitalism, not just democratic socialism.
So how soon can we expect to see physical changes from the HDMI after the cutting of the ribbons?
Oh, yes. I would say that within the next 4 to 6 weeks, you'll begin to see activity. In fact, a lot of the equipment has been mobilized. If we had been allowed to move to site in 2023 or 2022, these things would have been finished. It is just the bottlenecks and the bureaucracy of the civil service, the government, and all of that has been. But let's not dwell on that. It's better late than never. And one thing, you also look at the corporate performance. Logistics is about almost 15 to 20% of the cost. You know, there are finance charges, right? There's cost of production of the goods and logistics cost. We have begun to see, right, that corporate performance in 2025, and if you look at 2024, it was getting better towards the end. 2025 is looking better. So companies like Nestle and others who are now Cadbury, Boa Foods, showing great performance. Dangote, right? Because they are reducing costs. And this is the most important part of it. That one, the Naira stabilizing, right? We touch wood. We think that stays. The petrol price begins to begin to come down, assuming, and we pray that the federal government and Dangote will settle out the petrol for, the
crude for
Naira thing. So then we now begin to see these productivity gains in terms of concessionary roads. All of this is in the next few weeks and months, and the jobs being created. Because we moved to site, and we've already started employ people. So it creates jobs in the local, and the people will see the benefit. So you have jobs, you have increased productivity, and you have lower inflation. And finally, you have a stronger Naira. That is the benefit of this, right?
These are the things we look forward to, Mr. Rewane.
Well, again...
Hold you responsible.
Hold me responsible.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on the program, Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company.
Thank you very much for having me.